Welcome back to this week's episode of Colonial Sports Center. As always, I'm Greg Sutton, and alongside me, David Szymanski.
And Greg, last week was spring break, which means we jumped into a lot of the spring sports. What are we looking at tonight?
Well, tonight we're going to take a look at first the women's lacrosse team who travel clear across the nation to play a couple of their early season games over there in California. The men's lacrosse team was on the road. The softball team was down in Florida playing entire spring break week, kind of getting into their flow. And you and the rest of the golf team kind of traveled to North Carolina and started your spring season also.
We did. We got our season teed off, which was pretty exciting. We're going to take a look at that later in the show. But also joining me tonight on the show is freshman point guard John Williams, who came in and started in every single game this season. We're going to hear about his transition from high school to college basketball and how he found success.
And tonight we're also going to talk to women's basketball analyst Matt Kurdick and men's hockey analyst Adam Maluso. Talk about those two seasons that happened. But before we jump into that, a lot of winter sports teams went into their postseasons, the first of which being the men's hockey team, who are in the quarterfinals of the AHC tournament. They played against Holy Cross this past weekend, so we're going to travel up there to Holy Cross and see how they fared in that quarterfinal round, the first game of the quarterfinal round of the best of three, and see how they kind of fared in that game for the first game of the series. First thing we're going to see here, a goal by sophomore Matthew Graham. 4 points from Graham Lynch Mantenuto line in the game that night. An amazing statistic for the line. 4 points, it's a great number. Second play here. Goal, a good passing first off by the Colonials. Goal, Brady Ferguson, currently leading scorer in the conference with 50 points on the season. Next, the Colonials just pounding away. Great save there by Holy Cross goaltender, but not enough to stop Nick Perkusic from putting the puck in the net after he batted off the goal line. There we see it again, just an awesome goal, putting it above the goalie's gloves and everything else. Here we're going to see it one more time, really slow, really good angle here. Kicks it out of the goal line. Perkusic just in time, great rebound opportunity to get the Colonials ahead. And then last but not least, Alex Tonge, great forechecking, just a little dump into the empty net, giving the Colonials win. His seventh. He is seventh in the conference in goals per game this season, Alex Tonge is. The Colonials bounced ahead early with that goal from sophomore Matthew Graham in the first period, but the goals that came from Brady Ferguson, Nick Perkusic, and Alex Tonge, Luke Lynch and Eric Israel had 2-point nights with 2 assists each. Goaltender Francis Marat stopped 39 of the 40 shots he faced, only allowing the one to Michael Laffin less than a minute into the second period. RMU and Holy Cross would face off again the next day for Game 2 of the best of 3 series.
Up 1-0 in the semifinals series, the Colonials looked to continue the sweep of Holy Cross. It was a dominant 4-1 victory in Game 1, and on the season series, the Colonials were up 13 goals to just 6. Could they continue their success against Holy Cross in this postseason matchup? They certainly could, and they certainly did. It was a 5-1 victory, and leading the Colonials in scoring was Timmy Moore and Luke Lynch, who both had 2-goal games. Lynch also had 2 assists on the night, giving him the huge 4-point game. Francis Marat was outstanding in net, and the Colonials ended the season sweep of Holy Cross.
And now I get to talk with our men's hockey analyst, Adam Maluso. Adam, thank you for taking time out of your day to come talk to us tonight.
My pleasure, Greg.
Let's just jump right into it. So the men's hockey team looking really good in the postseason after that 6-game downhill slide, their last 6 games of the season. What do you think has contributed to that success they've had in the early postseason?
Well, I think there's 2 factors. One, it's that line that I mentioned a lot of times. It's Brady Ferguson, Alex Tonge, Luke Lynch. Those 3 players are key to the Colonials' offense. They've been able to put the pucks in back of the net in this recent postseason stretch, something that I didn't think they were able to do, originally in those last 6 games of the season where they were on a little bit of a slump. I also think that you can attribute it to the play of sophomore goaltender Francis Marat. We had mentioned a couple times that we thought he was in a bit of a sophomore slump this year, but boy, has he picked it back up in the postseason. You saw that save against Holy Cross, and it's really been a great postseason for all facets of the team, but I definitely think you can credit it to Marat and those 3 players. Obviously, one being Brady Ferguson, who's up for that Hobie Baker Award. Hopefully he can get into the vote there.
And another thing I've been noticing those last 6 games of the regular season, Adam, was their inability to stay out of the box. They took a lot of bad penalties, a lot of immature penalties that you wouldn't think you'd see out of a team such as Robert Morris. Do you think that's changed enough to where they can go clear back to the AHC finals?
Well, I think that it could. It's going to be one heck of a push that they have to make sure they stay out of the box. The one weekend I saw this was prevalent was against RIT. They took way too many penalties, ended up losing 6-2 in the second game. And bottom line is this: if you're Coach Derek School, you have to make sure your boys play disciplined and play a 60-minute effort. You can combine those two, you have a good chance of getting to the AHC championship. But if you can't, especially going into their semifinal matchup tomorrow against number 1 seed Mercyhurst, you're not going to get very far. So that's got to be key in order for them to topple the Lakers tomorrow.
So I've noticed that the defense has even kind of picked up a little bit, but the Holy Cross Crusaders in that first game had 40 shots on Francis Murat. Do you think that's going to play a factor when they're playing the number 1 seed in the AHC, Mercyhurst, this weekend?
Well, if you saw that, number 3 seed like Holy Cross can get 40 shots off, you got to think Mercyhurst is the number 1 seed, so you got to wonder how many shots they can get off. And it's going to be, key to see if Frankie can regain his composure and keep it there like he had for that series against Holy Cross. I think that with his defense being able to back him up, he's able to do it. The one thing that I have seen in recent days that's kind of a breaking story within men's hockey, Captain Alex Bonjay not going to play. He suffered a broken leg. He is out for probably the rest of this championship. Maybe, it depends. I don't think he'll even be back for the NCAA tournament if the Colonials make it that far. But he's put everything out on the ice this season. They're going to be missing that presence at the point. But I think if the defense backs Murat up, it should be smooth sailing for Robert Morris.
All right, Adam, real quick, I want to know your prediction for first the Mercyhurst game and then the championship game and who they're going to play versus Canisius or versus Air Force.
Well, I would say Robert Morris is able to battle back against Mercyhurst. I say the final score 4-2 Colonials. I think that they're able to play much better than they have in those last 6 games of the postseason, or the regular season, and I think that they're going to be able to stay out of the box, keep it simple, keep it tough, though. You have to pressure Mercyhurst on the puck. We've seen that in teams in the past. And then I got to say, you know what? I either could see Air Force and Robert Morris from last year. That was a good rivalry, and they ended up knocking the Colonials out. But Canisius has been hot this season, so the Golden Griffins, that team from Buffalo, is going to be a challenge if the Colonials can face. I personally think that they're going to face Canisius.
All right, Adam, and I really appreciate you coming on tonight.
Thank you,
Thanks
Greg.
for your input on all the topics. And real quick, we're going to toss it back to the desk for a little bit more.
Great hockey insight there. Thanks, guys. But now let's jump from the ice to the court. Robert Morris Colonials against the St. Francis Red Flash. The matchup that has been inevitable since the midpoint of the Northeast Conference season. Everyone knew these were the 2 best teams. They were destined to meet. The regular season series was split, but this is the playoffs. It was a completely new level of intensity. Winning, you were going dancing. Losing, your season may be over. Everything on the line, and both teams knew it. And both teams played like it. As we go out here, Greg, the Colonials get off to a pretty good start as they're going to be tied at half, 26 apiece. But the difference in this game was Megan Callahan, someone who we had in studio earlier this year. She had a very, very ice-cold game, which made it tough for the Colonials to score.
Especially whenever you have a person like Megan Callahan, you kind of rely on to, I would even say, kind of compete with that Jessica Kovac figure from St. Francis.
Right, and who was competing with Kovac was Jocelyn Jones, who had 21. She went toe-to-toe with Kovac all game. But RMU's lack of creating shots ultimately had them fall in this game to the St. Francis Red Flash, who had a great offense. And it went up against the Colonials' very good defense. And the Colonials only shooting 33% on the day had them falling behind. Despite double-digit games from Smith, Mulrain, and Jones, the Colonials fell to the Red Flash. Jessica Kovac had an incredible 29 points, leading them to victory and the NCAA tournament berth. Robert Morris will now find themselves in the women's NIT tournament.
And David, in just a couple of minutes, we're going to get to sit down with not only John Williams, but our women's basketball analyst, Matt Kurdick, will jump on with us. So you're not going to want to miss any of that action.
They call me Maxie, but I prefer tripod. I was your above-average four-legged homie, and then wham, bam, minivan. Some people pity me. Now that's lame. I still run, fetch, and swim. And the ladies love me. I'm the ultimate wingman. Just don't ask me to high five.
Here at Robert Morris University, we pride ourselves at the experience that our students gain while they're actively learning in the classroom. Some even come back to share that knowledge with new students.
I never dreamed that I'd be back here. I'm having so much fun. I'm doing a lot of what I was trained to do and what I went to school for.
The Colonial Sports Network is a great opportunity for students to learn real job skills in sports programming.
to be able to see what the students want to make of it, because it can be anything that they want. I love being here, seeing students, seeing myself in the students that work with me, and I'm really blessed to have so much talent to work with. It's really amazing to be able to see students become successful after Upper Morris. It's really cool.
Join the Colonial Sports Network team and expand your future today.
Hey, let's check out this park. Oh, wow, that's really cool.
To find a great local park or forest near you, go to discovertheforest.org.
Welcome back to Colonial Sports Center. Joining Greg and I is Matt Kurdick, who's going to discuss the women's basketball team and their big game that they just had against St. Francis. So, Matt, what was it that you thought that ultimately led to the Colonials' defeat in that game?
What we saw a lot this year was the freshmen step up and make plays, make a lot of shots, but unfortunately in this game, they didn't have enough experience, I guess, to play and make those shots. And you lose games like that, but it was tough to see them lose. But, you know, they're young and you expect them to play better as the years go through.
And so, Matt, with that loss against St. Francis, of course, St. Francis being able to make it to the NCAA tournament as a 16 seed. But Robert Morris women's basketball, as we jump into the women's NIT against Drexel. So what do you expect out of them this weekend?
I expect the freshmen to step up again. I expect our seniors, Jocelyn Jones, Maiden Smith, and Michaela Mulrain, all to have great games. They're all super experienced on our team, and just the way the system works, getting the ball down low, it should be a really good matchup for them.
Now, how do you think those freshmen will play? You know, they've seen probably the biggest game of their life against St. Francis, but now they're going to go into another big one against Drexel. Do you think that they'll be able to come out and contribute a little bit more than they did against St. Francis?
You know, I think they will, and it's kind of glad to see them lose in that game, because then they know that they can respond and play well, and unfortunately they didn't get it, but these players are really good players, so that's also a really good thing to see.
And so, with this game going in, not seeing the contribution we wanted to from the freshmen, is there anything else that you've seen in that St. Francis game you as coach Biscaglia would want to fix before you jump into Drexel?
You figure Drexel's going to have a player kind of like Jessica Kovac in St. Francis that's going to light up a scoreboard, so it was nice to see us step up and limit Jessica Kovac. Even though she scored a lot of points, she didn't really come out as much as she did whenever we played them in the regular season. But come out defensively, and hopefully we make those big shots that we happened to miss in that St. Francis game.
And so one last question for you, Matt. Do you expect them to beat Drexel, and what do you think is going to be the key factor in that?
Oh, absolutely, I expect them to beat Drexel. Of course, you got to have a positive attitude here, right? But I expect the freshmen to show up and make those shots. And Megan Smith and Michaela Mulrain are very great players. And Jocelyn Jones stepped up and had a lot of points in St. Francis, and I expect her to do the same exact thing tomorrow.
All right, Matt, and we really appreciate you coming in tonight.
Thank you.
And good luck. I think you're going to Drexel, am I correct?
Yeah, I'm going to go out to Philly tomorrow night.
All right, well, good luck out there. Hope you make it back. Fly, Eagles, fly, as they say. So thank you very much for coming out tonight. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
And after Robert Morris defeated number 5 Penn State on the road at University Park, defeating the Nittany Lions 12-9, they then traveled back to home in Moon Township to face off against High Point and won their second straight game. The Colonials look to extend that streak to 3 wins with a win against Marquette in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Here we're going to see Marquette moving the ball really well, but a great save by Alex Hager, and he's not going to do it once, but twice. Twice he makes great saves, David, not just once.
Unbelievable. He's been great in net. Just phenomenal. Defensive player of the week for him coming from the net.
And then we're going to get to see Adrian Turek Orban once again doing what he does best and putting the ball in the net for the Colonials. But next we're going to get to see the Colonials, their turn to move the ball around really well. And this time it's going to be Brad McCully. Marquette allowed an average of 7 goals per game. That's how many Robert Morris had in the first half.
That's unbelievable, and that's good. And some of these games, defense creates offense, and it just felt like both sides of the ball were feeding off of each other in this game.
And it's not even that we're both feeding off each other. They played 2 ranked opponents, and they've performed really well against both of them, which is surprising to see that Robert Morris isn't even ranked.
Yeah, an unbelievable start to their season.
And Robert Morris was able to hold off the 21st ranked Marquette Golden Eagles 12-2. The only 2 goals that Marquette scored were able to come in the middle 2 quarters, one coming in the second and the other in the third. Ryan Smith and Matt Schmidt both had 2 goals and an assist on the night, and Daniel Smith finished the blowout with 2 assists of his own. And their next game is against Sacred Heart at Joe Walton Stadium. And David, but before we jump into the action here, let's take a look at this lacrosse standings. And in this one, inside lacrosse standings, Robert Morris is ranked 17th with 90 points.
That's pretty solid. I mean, you look at some of the teams that are ahead of Robert Morris, lacrosse staples. You got Syracuse, you got Georgetown, North Carolina, and Robert Morris is right up there, which is awesome.
Yeah, and I mean, what's really surprising, though, is they're not ranked with the NCAA rankings. It's just kind of a little shocking to me, considering they beat 2 really good teams that are ranked pretty high.
Yep, men's lacrosse has looked good, but let's jump over to the women's lacrosse team, who looked to end their California road trip with a victory as they were hosted by UC Davis this past Thursday. Having lost their last 3 games, the women desperately needed this game to turn the tide of their season. But UC Davis proved to be a formidable opponent. UC Davis jumped out to an early 6-0 lead, and this game looked like it was over, but the Colonials fought back hard in the second half, scoring 5 goals to reduce the final deficit to just 3. Dana Davis had 2 assists in the game and helped the Colonials battle back, but it was not enough.
And the Robert Morris softball team had been a busy team since the last time we checked on them before spring break started. Their most recent stretch came last weekend in the Under Armour Showcase in Clearwater, Florida. RMU had 5 games in a 3-day period. They played Iona, Northern Kentucky, Maine, Delaware State, and St. Joseph's. In the 8 games leading up to the Under Armour Showcase, they were only able to win 1 game. While in the showcase, the Colonials struggled continued, and it seems like there was no answer in sight. In their matchup against Iona, they lost 4-3. Olivia LaRusso had 2 runs batted in, which wouldn't prove enough to boost Robert Morris above for a win. Later in the day, Robert Morris took the field against Northern Kentucky and were defeated by 1 run again. Bridget Guinea homered in the top of the 4th for the Colonials, but even her 2 RBIs didn't prove enough to help, as Robert Morris University started the showcase with 2 losses. Saturday proved to be the day for the Colonials as they took the field against both Maine and Delaware State. Robert Morris defeated Maine 7-4 in the 7 innings, with the first point coming from a home run off the bat of Natalie Higgins. Right after the conclusion of the main game, RMU took the field against Delaware State as a pitcher, Madison Riggle, hit a grand slam to right field and boosted Robert Morris over the Hornets 6-4, with the other 2 runs being driven in by Higgins and Guinea. In their last matchup of the showcase, Robert Morris took the field against St. Joseph's, where both Madison Riggle for RMU and Ashley Ventura went the distance and threw the entire game for their respective squads. Robert Morris went on to lose 1-0.
The men's golf team ended last fall with a victory in their final tournament. Despite their fall performance, they were picked 4th in the Northeast Conference coaches poll. This past week, they teed up the start of their spring season in Wilmington, North Carolina at Cape Fear National, looking to build on that fall victory. With 7 guys making the spring break trip, it was a great opportunity to see the outlook of the team for the spring. The Colonials were led on the first day of action by senior Grant Shoemaker, who carded rounds of 72 and 76 on his way to a 4-over 148. Max Palmer and Daniel Franco-Saad both had impressive rounds of 73 on the first day as well. Heading into the final day of play, the Colonials sat in 7th place in the 13-team field. On the final day of action, David Schmansky put together an even par round to lead the Colonials, and Kyle Grube tied his career low of 74 to help the Colonials jump 2 spots in the field to finish 5th overall.
And David, just when we come back, you're going to get to sit down with John Williams and talk a little bit about how their season went and being a freshman, what he's going to expect next year.
Right, and next year his brother's going to join him on the court, Josh Williams, who was a transfer who had to sit out this year. So it's going to be interesting to hear how excited John is to play with his brother next season.
It appears these hot ashes are about to be dumped, which could possibly start a wildfire. How will Smokey deal with such a hot situation? The garden hose defense. Next, a thorough stir. Then another spray. And finally, feeling if the ashes are cool.
Oh, yeah.
Ah, yes, the selfie. A ritual practiced so frequently with this tribe, but not so much by Smokey Bear.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
They call me Prince like I'm royalty or something. But the places I've lived ain't no palaces. So I don't need grilled salmon or a new scratching post. Just give me a cardboard box and a can of tuna and we're good. You can even change my name. I'm cool being the kitty formerly known as Prince.
They told me a bottle couldn't dream. That I would never become a superhero. But I learned how to fly. Just to come back in a new disguise. And be the hero that I've always wanted to be.
If you don't fix them, sparks from dragging tow chains could cause a wildfire, and that could be scary. Smokey. Only you can prevent wildfires.
Welcome back to Colonial Sports Center. I'm joined by freshman point guard John Williams. John, thanks for joining us. And this past season, you started in every single game. What was it like to come to the college level and immediately be thrown in to lead a Division I team?
It was a big transition. Definitely knowing that, coming from high school, the game speed, the strength, the athleticism, everything's changed. So I thought it was a big transition, but the coaches put me in a great position to be able to succeed, and I was able to play in every game. So.
Yeah, and that was incredible. Coach Toole seemed to have a lot of confidence in you from the start. And one of his praises of you is that he thinks that you have one of the highest basketball IQs that he's had in a player. He actually compared you to Velton Jones. How do you see the court differently than other point guards?
I just have a good feel for my team and where they're going to be at certain times, understanding of the game speed, and how to adjust and control tempo at times. He also helped me with that too as well. But just seeing plays unveil and how guys read and reading them, I think I have a good feel for the game, and I think that's what he's trying to compare it to.
So when did you think that you developed that feel for the game, where you really became that team-oriented point guard rather than just trying to go ISO? When did you become that type of player?
It started when I first started playing. My dad understood that he didn't want us to be selfish, so he kind of like told us that if one person on our team scored, that means we scored. So my unselfish play came early, and after that it's just grown. And it stayed with me all my life. So.
Right, because you are one of the best three-point shooters in the Northeast Conference on the season, but you are a team-oriented, pass-first point guard, and so you've always played like that. That's something that your dad instilled in you.
Yeah, I always felt like if my teammates could get the ball from me, that I could get the ball from them. So it was more of a I help you, you help me.
Yeah. So one of your teammates next season is going to be your brother Josh. Who's a transfer from Akron. What's it going to be like having him on the court? What's your guys' dynamic out there? I don't think any of us have seen it.
Very exciting. Play with a lot of passion, a lot of emotion. Understanding that you get a chance to play with your brother at the next level, not even high school, but the next level is it's a blessing. So, we want to take full advantage and make the most of the opportunity we have together.
What type of player is Josh? So he's a shooting guard.
Yeah.
So he'll be out there on the court with you. So you'll be finding him in the corner.
Yeah.
Quite often.
Josh is just as good, if not better, of a shooter as me.
Okay.
So and he also has a nice build, so he can get to the basket a lot easier and finish over defenders and make tough shots. He can put it on the ground and get to the rack. He can play a lot. He can play defense. He can do a lot of things that we will need.
Speaking of how good of a shooter that you are, Coach Toole has said a few times that he thinks what you need to do to take your game to the next level is really develop that drive and being able to finish down at the hoop. What do you plan to do in the offseason to improve that part of your game?
Definitely. We already had a meeting about it. We talked about how the emphasis this summer will be on finishing at the rim and just probing at the defense a lot more and getting into gaps and being extra aggressive this year. So that's the emphasis this summer is being able to create more and be a playmaker.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to see how your game will improve and how you look with your brother Josh out there. But before we go, I've got to ask you and Josh, when you're in the backyard, when you're out on the court, one-on-one, who's winning? Who wins most of those?
When we were younger, it was me a lot. As we got older, it began to be him. But now it kind of goes back and forth.
Back and forth. I like the sound of that.
And most of the time, we don't even finish because we laugh a lot. So,
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Can't take it.
But when it's competitive, it goes back and forth.
Yeah, no, that's good to hear. We're looking forward to having you and your brother out on the court next season. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And looking forward to a great season. Coming up next, we're going to have upcoming games. So we'll see you on the other side.
What's to be done, which could possibly start a wildfire? How will Smokey deal with such a hot situation? The garden hose defense. Next, a thorough stir. Then another spray. And finally, feeling if the ashes are cool.
Oh, yeah.
Ah, yes, the selfie. A ritual practiced so frequently with this tribe, but not so much by Smokey Bear.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
They call me Prince like I'm royalty or something. But the places I've lived ain't no palaces. So I don't need grilled salmon or a new scratching post. Just give me a cardboard box and a can of tuna and we're good. You can even change my name. I'm cool being the kitty formerly known as Prince.
They told me a bottle couldn't dream. That I would never become a superhero. But I learned how to fly. Just to come back in a new disguise. And be the hero that I've always wanted to be.
If you don't fix them, sparks from dragging tow chains could cause a wildfire, and that could be scary. Only you can prevent wildfires.
Welcome back to Colonial Sports Center. And Greg, we're going to get to the favorite part of the show for you, upcoming games.
Let's just go right into it. I love this part. It's my favorite part. And as we see here, softball, once again, busy. 3 games, 5 games this weekend, David. 3 games, 5 games. That's crazy.
And the one that pops out at me is against Michigan at 10 a.m. That's a Big Time game. Big Ten opponent. That's going to be big. But we're also going to have a few lacrosse games. And like you guys said, obviously, the men's hockey against Mercyhurst.
Yes, and now we're going to jump into something we just started this semester. And we're going to jump into that highlight, or that clip, or whatever you want to call it.
The week
that was.
What a week it was, but the week that's coming up, as we just saw the upcoming games, is going to be pretty exciting. We've got the men's hockey team in the finals against Mercyhurst, which is going to be pretty exciting.
I wouldn't say finals, but semifinals.
Semifinals.
I'll just catch you there real quick. But that's definitely going to be exciting because it's a 1-game series. Well, the first 2 series were 3 games. So that's going to be kind of exciting to see how that all works out.
Right. All or nothing in that game.
Yeah, I'm going to roll the dice. And we really appreciate you guys tuning in tonight. But tune in next week to see how the men's hockey team did. Thanks for tuning in. Good night.
Good sight.